Well, that just flew into place. There wasn't any kind of transition, but yes, we are here, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Scoop here on Monday, the 8th of November. How are we all doing? Bit of a flip today. As you can see, Graham is in the office. He is in the ICU studio. I am at home in my studio. So usually Graham would be driving the show, but today I have the luxury of being able to host this for you while Graham is the co-commentator. Graham, bit of a weekend.
Just a tad.
I'm just talking about the football.
There was no football this weekend, was there? Nope, I've just checked again. No football was played this weekend, at least not by my team anyway.
Okay, we'll skip over the football stuff. We don't need to know any of the football stuff. PUBG. I didn't get to catch much of it, but it looked like he was having a good time. Tell me about your weekend and your PUBG actioning.
It was a decent weekend. It was a decent weekend. So anyone that didn't see it, Saturday morning we stream. Well, we stream Saturday and Sunday, which Bibby can tell you about his Sunday antics in just a sec. But on a Saturday morning we stream PUBG. If you are new here, Saturday morning 10 a.m. ish. Although it was actually more like 11:30 by the time I got on because big shop and stuff like that, and trying to see if I could pick up some bits for the monitor, which I couldn't. More on that later. But yeah. Some good games. Tito was not Tito. I've just seen his name in the chat. Cheers, baby. Now I'm crying. Nietzsche though he went off. So Nietzsche jumped in, joined me for some duo games on stream on Saturday, and he was ridiculous, cracking skulls left, right, and centre. So if you're around on Saturday mornings, do feel free to jump us in. I play PUBG Saturday mornings. Games were good. Had some beers Saturday night, which was nice. Went to Trafford Centre, got some Las Iguanas filthy meaty tapas stuff yesterday, which was decent. So all in all, good weekend. I mean, it would have been nicer if there'd have been some football to watch, but there wasn't on this weekend. I mean, I remember streaming from around 12:30 till well after 3. So I don't think there was any football this weekend. All
the football was on yesterday, wasn't it? You know, West Ham, Liverpool, St Albans versus Forest Green Rovers, which was a hell of a match if you are a St Albans fan, which I do actually think that Chappers is. Obviously he's a Sheffield Wednesday fan, but I think at heart, because they're sponsored by Enter Shaqiri, whichever way you want to pronounce it, depends on how common you are, I suppose.
Shakira?
Yeah, exactly. And they ended up going through and beating League 2 Forest Green Rovers. So yeah, shout out to the St Albans. But yeah, all the football was yesterday. We're not going to talk about any of the football on Saturday because 3 points is 3 points. Outclassed is outclassed. We don't need to drum onto it anymore. United fans are self-imploding as it is. They don't need another City fan to jump onto that. But ladies and gentlemen, this is The Scoop. This is your video game podcast. We go live each and every single weekday at 10 a.m. Ish. Yeah, it's a massive ish today. Obviously, this is our part-time gig. We go around we work around the video games industry. This is just like a side gig. We want to be able to create something for you guys in the mornings to digest all of your video game news. We pull that together and then go live whenever we can. And today, it was 11:59. So yeah, that's all the spiel. If you want to catch this on YouTube, you can do. Watch it on demand. You can pause, rewind. But if you are watching this live, we want your thoughts and impressions. Because why do we want their thoughts and impressions, Graham?
Because we want to give our thoughts and impressions.
On top of their what?
Thoughts and impressions.
There we go. Yes.
And then we want their thoughts and impressions on our thoughts and impressions. All their thoughts and impressions.
So yeah, again, this is your daily video games news. Obviously, this is based in the UK. The UK's #1 video game podcast. So this is the news that breaks over the weekend via America. We tend to be behind. So all the news that may be popular later on in the evening for the American audiences, that's the kind of news that we get a day later. It's a little bit shit, but it's just what we have to deal with. Unless we start to do the scoops at 6 p.m. like all the other American agencies do, then we will never really be breaking. I think we probably broke about 2 news stories in the last 2 years. Because it doesn't seem to be that popular over in England to be a journalist when it comes to video games. But it's just it's just the way it is, and we do our best to be able to give you something for you to be able to commute to go run into, or just to talk to your friends with. So yes, that is the scoop. You can find us on every single platform under iScream Uploads. But Graham,
yes,
we've got 4 news stories today.
Any spicy meatballs in there, babe?
Yes, but it's probably not going to be for the reasons that you think it's spicy. Or anybody else that's around there, because it begins with S and ends in Skyrim. You can probably guess what that is.
Subtle. I like it.
But we do have our first news story today, so please bear with me as I will be the person that's reading it today, and my English is not as good as Graham's. I cannot read nearly as well as he does, so let's jump into the first news story today as I find the button for it, and it's right here. We go to this. Please work. There we go. Lovely stuff. And some adverts to boot as well, so let's get rid of that. So, written on The Gamer by George Foster, he states that Sega reportedly ready to spend $182 million on its super game. This is obviously something that we did bring to you last week. The term super game is very vague, but it looks like they're ready to spend just under £1 billion. So, before we get into the news story, Graham, is that a lot of money for a video game nowadays?
Yes, it is. You can spend, like, we were having a conversation to give some sort of context. We were talking about last week and the week before, and pretty much every week, at least once a week, we talk about football games a lot on this show, and we were talking about VFL or UFL or whatever it is, the football game that's coming, plus Goals game, the other football game that's coming, and how if they are going to be able to challenge the big dogs out there, obviously the likes of the FIFAs and eFootballs, and how can they get into that upper echelon of football games? Because there's been a lot of football games that have come and gone and fizzled out and not really done anything. And we were saying it's going to take half $1 billion, $500 million, and a lot of time to get up to that point. So doubling that for something that's not going to need like annual iterations, that is a massive level of investment.
Sweet. Yeah, sweet. So, yeah, as we get into our first... I have just tweaked the audios as Tito said that you're coming in a little hot and mine is a little low, so I've just adjusted both of those, so hopefully you'll be able to see and hear something.
Is this balanced now, babe?
Yes, Graham. As you pierce my eardrums. But yes, going into the first news article of the day then, he states that Sega is rumoured to be spending $1 billion on its super game projects, including acquiring other games companies. As reported by VGC, Sega has previously said that it wants to create a super game, which is said to be a long-term strategy to create one major global title, focusing on online, community, and its IP utilization. The project is rumoured to be a game that makes use of all of Sega's IPs in some sort of online multiplayer space. Sega gave more details in the Super Game Initiative and the company's annual report. Parent company Sega Sammy said that it would consider investing up to $882 million on the project, including not just the cost of developing the game itself, but also acquiring other companies in Japan or abroad. In report, Sega Sammy said, just going to boost the audio just slightly. I am touching the red here, so this is like danger territory. So yeah,
I'll sit back from the microphone as well.
Yeah, so mine's touching the red. I mean, this is nothing to do with the video games in that article. This has not been written by Josh. He's not stating that Baby's mic is now touching the red. But I am
touching the red, as well as the cloth.
So I am touching the red now, so I don't really think I can boost my mic anymore. But anyway, moving swiftly on. In the report, Sega Sammy said the way people interact with games is becoming more diverse and the ecosystem is growing exponentially. In this context, Sega said it wants to go beyond the boundaries of conventional games and take on the challenge of creating a super game that excites the gaming community, which is a web of diverse relationships. Naturally, we project that the scale of investment in the development of such super games will be sizable. We will need to incorporate the new technologies and trends. To this end, we will have to invest from the perspective of developing the pipeline and shoring up some of our value chains. Sega Sammy also commented on collaborating with other companies, saying that I also have sensed that our collaboration with other companies has been lacking. Now, in part to a better response to the rapid change in the market, we are increasing our opportunities to be in communication with our various business partners. Although there is nothing confirmed about the super game just yet, it is heavily rumoured to be developed by a creative assembly, the team behind Alien Isolation. When they are advertising job listings, the studio puts out an image of its FPS project, and several Sega references can be spotted within it, including Monkey Ball Bananas, a figure of Sonic floating outside, and Beatbox from Jet Set Radio. It's not confirmed that this is the super game, but it's pretty clear connection. So, Graham, my first question to you is there's a little bit more information in here about what a super game could look like from Sega. Very vague, not that much to go off, but what do you make of Sega potentially creating a game that has all of its IPs and IPs from around the video game news in? Video game world, not news.
Do you know what? It kind of excites me because I grew up with Sega consoles, Mega Drive, Master Systems, and I've never really been a Sega person after that. I mean, I missed out on the Dreamcast. I was eventually going to get one, but then it kind of died before I got to that point. And then Sega's obviously drifted off and then come back. Particularly in the last 5 years, Sega's come back in a big way in terms of using its brands in different platforms. Obviously, Sonic is the easiest one to mention. The fact that there's been a Sonic movie, there's going to be another Sonic movie. But they're starting to position themselves well, and they've realised that actually, do you know what? We've got tons of history, tons of IP, tons of content, brands that we could utilise and cross over to make a super game. Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. You've got $1 billion to put into that as well. Okay, that's interesting. But it kind of falls flat a little bit when they said... like the games that he referenced in that last paragraph, like Monkey Ball Bananas, Sonic, and then Beatbox from Jet Set Radio, is that enough to make a super game? I'm not convinced.
So what kind of genre do you think it's going to be then? Because the two genres that I can immediately kind of think of if they're going to have all of these being put into one video game is you're looking at something like Smash, which I don't know why in the last, 10 weeks we've started to get a Smash clone in terms of the Nickelodeon All-Star. I can't remember what it's called, Nickelodeon something, Brawl Stars or something along them lines. And the new WB game, which is going to, is it called the Metaverse? Yeah.
Metaverses.
So obviously they're kind of coming out of nowhere now, considering Smash was in its own genre for the longest time. It feels like people are going to be creating clones of that. But apart from that, is it going to be something like Skylanders? Like where they have just a universe, you have the little, maybe not Amiibo dolls, but something of that ilk where you can buy expansion packs for extra worlds and extra characters and extra campaigns. Like, what does it look like? What does a vanilla Sega super game look like?
My instinct for a super game, and I don't think this is anything like it, so I'm completely baffled when it comes to Sega. My instinct is Grand Theft Auto, because that's the closest we've got to a super game. Like that open world, sandboxy, fucking just watch Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds. Yeah. That is a super game. It's all the things
I want to be in.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I think when I think of super game, because you've got a world within a world. That Wreck-It Ralph, they have the station that's basically Game Central Station or whatever they called it. So that's kind of like the middle ground where all the games collide. That for me is the super game where you can have Sonic the Hedgehog and Streets of Rage, which is meant to be like cartoony hedgehog character that can run ridiculously fast versus gritty, real street crime and fighting your way through that obviously 80s action esque, but they're two separate things. Even though they're made by the same company, even though they're played on the same system, they're two very separate games. So those colliding just doesn't work unless you have an option to do that. Smash is just straight up, well, we're not in the Emerald Hills, so Sonic is just a character. We're not on the streets of, I can't remember the name of the city in Streets of Rage, so we're not on those streets, so Axel, he's just another character. So we've put them into a separate world, which might have an Emerald Hill Zone theme, or it might be Streets of Rage themed, or it could be Football Manager themed, first Sega game that came to mind. And then you kind of go, okay, well, I'll take it with a pinch then. They're out of their normal environments. So a super game, to have multiple games that cross different universes, the metaverse, you have to create a logic for them to be there. So that open world sandbox GTA style game, like Free Guy, if you haven't seen it, watch it, by the way, it's a good film. That kind of works. I can't see Sega being able to develop that. That's like, I know that they're investing $1 billion and they want to make a super game and they want to use all of their properties and put them all in something. So arguably, if they are going to put all of those properties into something, and they're calling it a super game, which is brand new terminology, then maybe they're serious about it and they're looking at developing something monumental like that. I'm just not sure. I don't know what do you see it as?
I see it as a Skylanders type game. I feel like Skylanders was and probably should have been a bit bigger than it was. I mean, Skylanders is, for all intents and purposes, a massive game, or was back in the day. I do feel if they wanted to try and bridge a lot of gaps that they claim to have misplaced and not worked with the amount of people that they probably should have been working and evolving with the market, and they want to bring these IPs in, how do you do that and make it feasible for everybody? Like, they can go out and spend $1 billion on getting these IPs, but how do they make that back? Obviously, this is going to be a live service game, and that's why I go to a Skylanders game, because they can continue to make money by selling campaigns and DLCs and all that stuff. Is a Smash version of a Sega game going to work? Maybe for like 2 or 3 months, but then what do they do after that? Because for all intents and purposes, you can create a Smash game, but is it going to be anywhere close to being a Smash game in terms of revenue? Probably not. So I think that's the difficulty that they've got. And
it's again, not. I don't even see like in terms of revenue, in terms of a Smash game, Nintendo can bring some big guns to the table. So they can bring Mario, obviously. They can bring the Zelda characters, all of the past history with the Donkey Kongs and things like that. And then obviously Nintendo on the Pokemon characters. So you've naturally got some huge IPs in there. Plus, Nintendo own a first party as well. Yeah. So that is beneficial. That's a huge bargaining chip. So if Nintendo goes to I can't remember if Solid Snake's still in Smash. I don't know if he's in the latest one. I can't remember. Let's just assume he wasn't at this point in time. And Nintendo go to Konami, go, we want Solid Snake. And then Konami go, yeah, okay, well, he's a massive property. So you can have him, but he's going to cost you a shitload of money. Whereas Nintendo go, actually, but we will sort you out with discounts. We'll give you front of store. We'll make sure your character gets some header art or something like that. And that's when the brands go, okay, well, that's good then, because we'll make it a nice what's the contra deal where we don't pay you, you don't pay us, we all just work together and benefit. Nice. I mean, there may be some money changing hands and stuff, but Nintendo have done that with Kingdom Hearts and all the rest of the things, which is Disney characters meets Final Fantasy characters, but on a Nintendo console. It's like, do Sega have that sort of bargaining power? Like they can go, yeah, we can bring Sonic the Hedgehog. Nice. Who else? Whatever the other things they said,
Super
something
Monkey Ball?
from Super Monkey Ball and something from Jet Set Radio. Okay, what else? Do you remember Shinobi? Kind of, but anything else? I'm gonna need some more than that. Zool? Okay, I mean, so I don't know how it works. So, like, Super Game, actually, talking this through with you, I've kind of had my own mini epiphany in terms of how I need to think of it for myself. I was thinking Sega need to break into modern video game development in terms of they are, they don't need to, but they could try to break into modern game. Because something like Super Game for me is super, I've been thinking of it as super for the market, something that pushes the boundary like GTA Online did, or like Fortnite's own metaverse has been doing. But maybe Super Game isn't for the market. Maybe it's a Super Game compared to what Sega have previously been doing, which probably still isn't going to be as adventurous as Super Smash Brothers Ultimate or GTA or Fortnite like that.
Well, it needs to be something that lasts a while, because if you're putting in less than just short of $1 billion, at what point do you deem that you need to? Well, it's instant, really. Your shareholders go, we need to get this money back pronto. What are you going to do that's going to get us that money back? Like, they surely cannot think that this one game that they are creating, or this universe that they are creating, is going to get that money back quickly. This is something that has to be a project for, and maybe 5 years, but that game has to be relevant for 5 years. And 5 years in this industry is a hell of a long time. There's obviously games like Skyrim that's been going for 10 years and still continues to get sold. GTA 5 or online, whichever one you want to put in there, they're still going to be around. They're 10 years old. Minecraft, 10 years old. These games, I mean, Fortnite's well in its way now. Is it 6 years it's been out now? Maybe 5 or 6 years. It's well in its way to being that. I mean, these games have already cemented their legacy in video game world. what do they think they're going to do to create their own legacy? Because it's not easy, and there have been games that they think they're going to be this, and instead they've not really lasted the ride. You obviously do have MMOs.
Fortnite is not even 5 years. So you're talking about how much the industry can change in 5 years. Fortnite's Battle Royale came out on the 26th of September 2017. So 4 years and 2 months.
When did Save the World come out? Because I remember Willis buying that before, but the Battle Royale came out, which made me think that it's a little bit older. I'm sure it might have been like 2016, maybe.
No, 25th July 2017. But it might have been. Right. It might have had some sort of early accessy demo-y stuff.
Because I remember he paid £20 for that because he wasn't interested in the Battle Royale, and I'm fairly certain the Save the World stuff came first. But obviously that's.
According to this, Save the World was July 2017, and then 3 months later they pushed out the BR.
So it's 4.5 years then. Jesus, it feels like it's been around longer than that.
Which shows you, though, I mean, look how much the video game world has changed in 5 years. 5 years ago, we pretty much didn't have PUBG. We pretty much didn't have Fortnite. We pretty much didn't have Warzone. Battle Royale didn't exist.
When did H1Z1 do it first? They were the first one,
Yeah, it was what was it called? Armour. It's an Armour 3 mod originally. So Armour came before that. So that's more like 6-7 years ago. So there was Armour mods, and then there was H1Z1 and so on. King of the Kill, which came off the back of that sort of stuff. So that's probably about 7 years. But even then, it was still it was in the niche area as opposed to like where we are now. So if they want a game, if they're spending £1 billion, they're wanting something that still is going to be that's $1 billion. They're wanting something that is going to be around in that sort of point in time.
How can you judge that? It's impossible. You genuinely can't. They just hope that whatever they put out catches fire, and then everyone wants to play it. Like, I'm talking about games that are on everything: Nintendo Switch, all the consoles, PC. You can run it on your Chromebook. You can run it on your mobile. You can run it on everything, because those kind of games are very, very few and far between, and more often than not, they don't get done that well, which inevitably causes them to fall by the wayside.
It's interesting. Like, thinking about, you mentioned Skylanders. Skylanders is a good way of earning a shitload of money because you create add-ons. Although that was physical, like Disney Infinity in that sort of thing.
That's what I couldn't think of.
But Disney Infinity got shut down after a few years because it just wasn't that successful. Once people had tried it, had their little bit of novelty. We've got Disney Infinity. We bought it and we got all the Avengers packs and we bought some Scooby-Doo stuff, and because it was a real cool way to get Chloe into starting to play video games. Mm-hmm. But it did lose its novelty pretty quickly. Just buying the figures and the Lego sets, which just weren't as good as proper Lego sets. So if you were going to buy Lego to play with, you'd just buy Lego, which was actually cheaper. And so, okay, that. But I can't see that. There was a phrase for that. It was like toys as games or something like that. I can't remember what it was. But that didn't fully succeed, but the concept behind it was there in terms of using different content and tying into stuff. So Disney looped in all of the Nickelodeon Hanna-Barbera sort of old school cartoons with some Back to the Future thrown in, with some movies and so on. Because I think it was made by maybe WB Games, so it had the Warner Brothers stuff plus Disney and stuff. Maybe it wasn't, but anyway, it had Warner Brothers properties in there anyway. I just can't see Sega having that. So how could they recoup that? I mean, the instant way of earning that billion back is sales. Well, you're not going to sell $1 billion worth of the game itself. So then it's DLC. Okay, you get extra characters and stuff. It's a bit difficult for Sega to pull those in, and they don't have as many to pull on. So then it started to think of, okay, consumables. But if you don't have other bits of content of such substance, people don't want to spend money within your game. Okay, then after that's when we start to get into the loot drop / gacha loot boxes, and not loot drop. That's lovely, by the way. Exclamation mark loot drop. It's the you get into the realms where you've got loot crates, gachas, gambling, packs, and things like that. Will we start to see some of that? I hope not. But as this said, super expensive game. If you've got a super expensive game, then you need a super expensive profit margin. And I want to know where that's coming from.
Yeah. All right, so my last question to you then is, before I look into the chat and get everybody else's thoughts and impressions, do you think this will be a free-to-play game or something that you have to buy off a shelf for maybe if they're spelling just short of $1 billion on it, it needs to be a AAA title. So we're looking at maybe 60 sheets straight from the shop. What do you think?
If you say, what is the blueprint for a super successful game that's gonna churn millions and use multiple IPs, I would say making it free. GTA Online, I believe, is gonna be free on next gen, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, to be fair, they couldn't. They probably could have done. The people would have bought it, including myself, for the PS5 version. But yeah, I think making it free to play for a game that's 10 years old is probably the best way. I mean, we'll come on to that as our fourth news story today. But yeah.
So GTA Online's online element is free because there's purchasable stuff within it. Fortnite is free. Those are the two that I've already spoken about as metaverses. But then other major properties out there that have had huge success, that have content, that they are selling, it's content marketing. They're letting the content sell itself and you buy the content rather than the platform. Mm-hmm. Those are the ones that churn the big money. So for me, the blueprint is it should be a free-to-play game. However, if you're spending $1 billion in it and you're Sega that hasn't spent that much before, then it's very attractive to get 60 quid per consumer. It's one of those things, though. It's like, if it's free to play, it's free to play, and it should be from now, and it should always be. If it's a paid game, it's paid game, and it should be for now, and it should always be. If they start off going, okay, well, we're going to go free to play, actually the uptake's not quite there, we're going to change it to a paid game, or vice versa, then that's what you're just doing for success. Yeah. What was the Boss Key game? There was I can't remember it. There was a game by Boss Key Studios. That it was Lawbreakers, yeah. So they had that issue where they were going to be free to play, and then there wasn't as much hype around it, so they needed to recoup some money, so they changed it to a paid game, or it was vice versa. And yeah, you can't do both. I would say this for me should be a free to play game. If they want it to be something big, something cross-platform, cross-metaversey kind of whatever, then free to play is the one for me, because you buy the game. It's like people talk to me about PUBG now, and PUBG still costs 25 quid, but then you have to pay for the season pass, and then you buy cosmetics, and then you buy and it's like, so what is your 25 quid going for? What are you spending that on? Because you always need to be online anyway, so you can't just spend 25 quid and jump in and play it offline or whatever. You are paying. So for me, yeah, free to play. That's how I see it. Big free to play game, and then you pay for the Sonic add-on. And then when there's a Sonic 2 movie, you pay for that content, season pass, battle pass, whatever it is. I see it that way.
Okay, so you reckon it's going to be 60 sheets and then... sorry, did you say free to play?
Yeah, free to play and then DLC / battle pass, season pass.
Interesting. So, if it's free to play, Fortnite sells skins for about 8 quid per... and that adds nothing but cosmetics. If you're going to be selling a campaign... a fully fledged one that maybe, I don't know, adds 5 or 6 hours worth of content on top of your vanilla base game. What do you reckon that cost could come in at then? Because they'd have to sell obviously a lot of campaigns to be able to try and entice you for maybe 5 or 6 hours worth of content, to be able to try and keep you invested in a live service game that includes probably daily challenges, that probably includes, I don't know, I couldn't tell you. I genuinely couldn't tell you, because obviously I'm not the one that's creating this game, so they need to try and pique my interest and see what I want. I don't even know what I want yet. So what do you see a campaign coming in at? Because do you think 8 quid's too like, how much is a skin on PUBG?
It's kind of the same sort of ballpark, but my instant response to that was, where do I see it coming in? Is, do you know what? I don't know, because that's that 8 quid to I'd say $9.99 ish is a good chunk of money for quite a lot of people, but it's a swallowable chunk of money for a lot of people too. So for skins and just straight up cosmetics, I mean, I'm kind of the $4.99 to $7.99 ballpark is easy opt-in. That way we're at the point where people can just do impulse purchase. You stood at the tills and you see a cream egg, yeah, I'll get one of them. I don't even need to think about it. You're playing in the game, you see a $4.99 skin and it's Darth Maul, yeah, I'll get that. If it's 10 quid, it's like, actually 10 quid's a good chunk. That's like a couple of beers and maybe some chips as well, depending on where you're getting it. So yeah, I'd say around there. That said, the reason I say I don't know is because it kind of depends on how they go. PUBG is a game that's huge in Korea, made by Korean developers, and they have leaned into that with the recent Blackpink stuff, which didn't speak to me at all. But there was like skin packs. I think it was like 80 quid or something to get all of the skins. 80 quid. That's 4 times the price of the base game for some skins that are just cosmetics. So I don't know. I'm not at that level where I would spend 80 quid on some skins. It depends on whether Sega feel that they can cash in super fandom and bring in some of those, like, what was it, BTS, like the super group. Maybe they can bring in BTS and that sort of stuff, and then sell those skins at 100 quid a pop or whatever. I mean, PUBG sold the Joker and Harley Quinn skins at 25 quid, so...
Yeah, that's outrageous. I mean, that would have been one that I would have ended up buying, but 25 quid for a skin on any game, I would never pay. I mean, I didn't really want to buy... I really wanted the Chris and Jill skins on Fortnite, but there was no way that I was spending like £15 to get them both, because... just the Jill one didn't have a back bling. It didn't have a combat knife. It just had like a typewriter on the back. I didn't want that. I wanted the herb. So when you get injured, it'll go down to red and stuff like that. Kind of stuff speaks to me. But there's no way I'm spending £50 on that. Like I just don't want to. Like £15 is still to me a lot of money. Like I'm not necessarily tight. I always put my hand in my pocket. But for a game, for a skin. You're all right. I won't even spend that on a FIFA pack. But anyway, sorry.
I'm just about to say, I think that's actually been quite harming to PUBG as well, because PUBG had one notable crossover on devices that weren't. Sorry, I just had an update popping up on the screen. I've just told it to bug off. There you go. So PUBG had one crossover, and it was the Suicide Squad one where we got Joker and Harley Quinn. But it came at a point where PUBG was kind of like, fans weren't too happy with it. The skins people still kind of were opting in. At this point in time, people are either going to pay for skins or not, and people have kind of made peace with it or not, in terms of, say, made peace like it was an evil thing. It's not an evil thing, it's a choice. But to throw in a 25 quid crossover as your first crossover, I think people weren't happy. People were already dropping off, and that was just like nah. Yeah. So they were like, okay, well, this isn't working. I mean, we sold shitloads on the mobile devices and stuff, so we'll just keep selling there for main console. We'll do some streamer skins, and then we'll do, we'll just roll it back and be more core focused, which is where we've had Son Heung. Oh my god, I couldn't speak. Son Heung-min. There we go. Hon Song, nice. Son Heung-min and the Blackpink crossovers, because they know that they have market for that and they can sell those. But yeah. Anyway.
Doesn't speak to us Europeans over this side anyway.
No.
But running through the chat then, good morning to you all for joining us. I know that was quite a lengthy conversation. I genuinely thought this would be a good news story to start off with today. I didn't think we'd get into it that much, but we kind of started having epiphanies as we was going through about what this game could look like. So when you're reading something, until you actually start speaking it out loud, sometimes your opinions can change, and that's obviously what happens quite a lot on the show, especially with you guys in the chat as well, giving us your thoughts and impressions on it as well. So
I mean, that's part of the reason why. We don't read through all of the stories in full is because of time. Obviously, this is part-time. We do it around the work, but also I try to get enough of a steer of what's going to be said in the article, so I know how to kind of frame the intro, outro, or how they lead together. But I like having that epiphany and learning as I go, because I like the fact that chat can then influence my... Like, so when we ask for thoughts and impressions, it's because we haven't made ours yet. You can influence the way we dissolve this information. So, yeah, it's good to get it out as we go.
So Chappers thinks that this is just going to be a Sonic All-Stars Racing 2. Sonic All-Stars Racing is a fantastic game. If you haven't played it, it's definitely worth it as a kart racer. It's up there. It's not quite Sonic. It's not quite Mario Kart. Do you know what I mean? So expectations need to be set with that, but it's still a fantastic game and definitely worth one picking up. Tito says Dreamcast was quality, the GOAT console in my opinion, way ahead of its time. I agree with that to a large extent. It was one of the first consoles that I remember plugging an Ethernet cable into and being able to play games online. Having a giant keyboard to be able to play these MMO games, like that was revolutionary until obviously the PlayStation, and I ended up getting one of those, and then being able to play like the likes of FIFA online and whatever else I was back then when 12-year-old Bibby was living his best life. And then Bacon Chin's coming here, as well as Plum Rico. Good afternoon, gents. I hope that you have had a fantastic weekend, and your Monday is just as good. But ladies and gentlemen, we still have 3 news stories to be able to go through today. This one is quite a biggie as well, so this is definitely something that I want to get Graham's perspective on, as someone who has a lot more of a business understanding than I do, and what this means for a video game company. Ish. So again, this has been written on The Gamer by Sean Murray. He states that Ubisoft announces an emergency pay rise to stop senior talent leaving, but worker groups claim that junior developers are getting left behind. Ubisoft is bleeding top talent has been ever since the sexual harassment scandal broke in the summer of 2020. That's according to a new post written by Kotaku, which also revealed Ubisoft's plan to halt this max exodus is just to throw money at the problem. Yikes. Ubisoft Canada, which includes Studio Montreal, Quebec City, Toronto. Help me out there, Graham.
Check out Timmy.
Yeah, there you go. Do you know how to say that?
I'm going to say Chicoutimi, but I don't actually know.
That sounds way better than how I was going to pronounce it, so GG. Halifax, no, not the streamer. And Winnipeg has just announced...
Although Halifax, the streamer, is called Halifax because he lives in Halifax, which is the place that they're talking about, so there you go.
Represent. Halifax represent. And Winnipeg has just announced its plans to raise pay for all its developers across the board. However, those who earn the most will see the biggest increase, while junior developers will see more modest pay increases that only just beat the current Canadian inflation numbers. According to a better Ubisoft via Kotaku, junior staff will see pay increase of between 5 to 7%, while senior devs will get a pay increase as high as 20%. These pay increases are effective immediately and will be paid out at the end of November. Additionally, all staff will receive more vacation days and increased pay during parental leave. These moves do absolutely nothing to address the key demands of a better Ubisoft, the workers group said in a statement. In addition, by weighing the pay rises enormously in favour of senior staff, management are exacerbating this gap between the highly and lowly paid workers. Sorry, I'll read that again. Exacerbating the gap between highly and low paid workers. A better Ubisoft workers group rose to following reports of rampant sexual harassment and equality at Ubisoft Studios, made 4 key demands of the management earlier this year. They include a meaningful say on company policies and hiring cross-industry collaborations to agree a set of rules dealing with sexual harassment in the games industry, as well as Ubisoft ending the practice of merely moving known offenders to different studios rather than immediately terminating them. The group has since started a petition noting that none of their key demands have been met and calling on Ubisoft executives to do better. Such tactics can work. Activision Blizzard recently announced that it would accept several demands made during employee walkout, such as the end of forced arbitration in cases of sexual harassment and increased pay visibility, with an emphasis on hiring women and non-binary people. So, Graham, this article is stating that the higher-ups and the senior staff members are, of course, getting to earn more money. They are being paid more now to try and keep them at the studio across the board. And the junior developers and just some of the normal staff who may be working in social media, who are just executives that are yet to reach maybe the pinnacles of their career yet, have a slight increase. What do you make of this?
I mean, that's how it should be. Fuck the newbies. Screw everyone below me. I'm rich, so make me richer. Says no one with any sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Spine. It's bullshit. That is bullshit. Ubisoft announces emergency pay raises to stop senior talent leaving. This is in response to a better Ubisoft. How can we make ourselves better? How about staff wage raises? Oh, everyone's going to get a pay rise? Yep. Nice. Okay, I bet Ubisoft sat here now thinking this is good. I'm on board for this. Yeah, they're listening. They're doing what we've asked them to do. How does this work then? Okay, we are going to give staff between 5 and 7%. Oh, that's interesting. So 5 and 7%. It's marginally above inflation. So it's not great, but it's something. 5 to 7%. Let's say inflation's 5%. I don't know what Canadian level of inflation is, but let's say it's 5% and they give a 7% wage rise. That means next year you're going to be 2% better off. If it's less than inflation, then you're going to be worse off, technically. Okay, nice. Okay, well, we can work with that. So that's across the board. Oh, no, we didn't say across the board. We said we would give staff 5 to 7%. And by staff, we mean the people that actually do some work. I mean, us at the top, no, we're going to take... Like, we're going to have 1/5 of our wage increase. So inflation's 5%. We're going to times that by 4. So we're not just marginally, we are considerably better off next year, which is bullshit. Not only is it that the problems in these places are clearly top down, and the top down are being rewarded here in this. If this comes to pass, if this goes through, the top will be getting up to 20% when they are already on probably 5 times as much as the guy down below or the lady down below or whatever. The people that are only getting 5 to 7% are already on the smallest wages. So, like it mentions in there, there's the rich poor gap, the north-south divide, as we kind of call it in the UK. Northerners stay poor and the southerners get rich. It's that sort of thing, but within the same building. Yeah. People that are on low wages are getting microscopic increases, whereas the people that are on huge wages are getting astronomical increases. And it's like, so the gap just gets bigger. The problem just gets worse. If this is how they plan to fix the problems, I hate to see what they're doing. Do you know, actually, to be honest, I hate to see what they're like when it comes to making mistakes, but that's why we're in this situation all around. So that is shit. The fact that someone's thought of this, someone's gone through this, and this is their plan to make things better. This is how they plan for a better Ubisoft. Then it shows you that, like we said with all of the Activision stuff, the people making the decisions shouldn't necessarily just. They need to be kept in check, because that is a decision that you make without consulting people. You've just gone, everyone gets money.
Yeah.
And as everyone stands up, puts hands up in the air, and goes, yeah, you whisper then, but we get more. And it's like, what? What was that? What was the last bit? Oh, whoever. But we get more. It sounded like you said you get more. That's kind of the problem. So yeah, it's not.
I can understand them not wanting to get rid of their senior staff. I can understand that they want to be able to keep them, but you're kind of alienating the rest of the staff, because if there's just senior staff left, because the normal executive staff or the staff that have been there for 2 years that haven't quite made the jump to senior staff yet, whether or not it's because they're still fine tuning their skills, maybe not been there long enough, maybe their boss has been there, I don't know, 15 years. And they I don't think that they can't see that passage to becoming senior member of staff. Like, how does that balance ever come? How can that ever be balanced? Like, there's no progression for anyone at an executive level when someone who has just had another 20% thrown at them, they will never leave. They might be part of the problem. They may have been someone who has had their name now dragged through the mud because they are a horrible person, and they are now getting rewarded technically with 20% on top of their wage. Like, how do you keep your normal executive staff that keep the day-to-day things running? Like, you can have senior staff, but if you've got no one underneath them, then what the hell are you going to do? That senior staff member is now going to have to look after maybe 4 jobs, because the 4 execs that was under them, I just thought, do you know what, fuck this guy. I know he's a bit of a pervert and he's just been given 20% more. What the fuck am I still doing here? I'm out. Yeah. It's in a bit. I'm going elsewhere. I'm going down the road.
Basically breaking even, despite working another year, helping this company stay successful. And I'm almost staying at the same level of money last year as I have. As I am this year as I was last year, because inflation's so much, and I'm just about remaining the same wage. But that guy that's been a fucking a frat boy, to use the Activision word in this situation, he's got 20%. Yeah, it's not great. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm obviously going through the instant knee-jerk side. There are some reasons why the higher ups get extra money, because the amount of experience that someone has to get to that higher levels. I'm talking like ideal sort of best case kind of thing. The amount of experience that someone has to get to that point, the amount of years that they've done in the industry, the amount of they've probably come across multiple departments. There's a phrase called brain drain, which is basically it's meant as a geographical thing. Like people will leave one country to move to another country because it has more benefits, be that lower taxes, be that higher health benefits, or just a better place to live. And you do get that in business as well, brain drain, where organisations will poach staff from other organisations, and usually you'll go for the staff at the top of the chain. So giving those bigger boosts keeps them essentially keeps your hooks in them. If they're happy and they've got a lot of money, they're less likely to go. So that there is reasoning for that. It's not just about okay, how can we bridge the gap, but that is the negative that comes off it. If you put so much effort into countering the top level brain drain that you don't realize that you've actually got quite a lot of brains in your lower levels that are just being neglected, that you don't even realize you're already halfway through your next generation of brain drain because they've already left and moved to another organization.
Yeah. It's a difficult one to try and be able to combat, because obviously you do want to be able to keep your senior member staff, providing that they don't have anything against their name, who are awful people. But I feel like just throwing money at it and hoping that problem then sorts itself out, especially when it comes to the top and you're not really rewarding the people who are, for all intents and purposes, as an executive, potentially trying their best to try and become a senior member of staff or trying to learn their craft and get into an industry that they've probably loved for a long time in a company that is being under the microscope for the last 18 months, we'll say. It's difficult, and I don't think throwing money at it will make it go away. It's not stop them from being in the news in a negative way. So I haven't got that much business sense, thankfully. I don't own my own company, thankfully, because I don't know how we'll be able to solve these problems without actually having advisors, which to me doesn't look like they do either. So it's still in the same boat.
Just wanted to joke because Bibby did have his own company. He opened up a club called Club Tropicana where the drinks were free. It wasn't a great business model, didn't last very long.
I know, but it did have a nice ring to it, though, didn't it?
Club Tropicana, drinks are free.
So it's a difficult situation that I think they've potentially made worse accidentally. But again, we talk about Stadia having the wrong people in the wrong places. It looks like Ubisoft are suffering from the same thing. They don't have the right people advising them in all the right places. And once again, they are in the news for all of the negative press rather than the positive stuff that we do like to talk about. Running back through the comments then, as it has started to pick up a little bit. Garanga says, hello, I've won $1 million. What should I do with that money for maximum benefit? I've told him to buy Fortnite skins. Tito asks to give it to him. Garanga mentions that they would, how are you going to double my money? Back to Tito. And I said, if you invest in ICU, we will triple it. Tito also goes on to state that in my organisation, local authority, we have a massive issue with staff retention. Some areas more than others. They've admitted a pay rate isn't on pay with neighbouring local authority rates. What's their solution? They've added additional rate for hard to recruit teams. Now that's going to solve these issues, or just push people from existing teams into the new teams that are paying more. Business leaders are short-sighted when it comes to salary.
100%.
I agree with that.
100%.
We've got a team over there that's struggling, that we need to try and bring some more people in. Okay, we'll
do
load more money into that.
Do we pay everyone a good salary, or do we just add a special rate for those that might leave? Why didn't you think about why would they be leaving? Because you pay shit. How about fixing that everywhere? I know obviously there's budgets and there's only so much to go around, but my God, that's just like that's
surely
that's
everyone's
nail on
going
the
to
head.
apply for a job in the other team, aren't they? Let's be honest.
100%.
Like you would.
100%.
Why wouldn't you? Like it might be something in a completely different industry that you may want to work into, and something that you might actually have some knowledge in that you haven't yet been able to do as a profession. And you go over there and you might be really good at it and you get paid twice as much. Like, it's so thick because they're going to have to try and recruit for your old job then when you eventually... Yeah, short-sighted is a very polite way of putting it, I think. Asim's in the chat. Good morning, sir, Mr. T. Says, speaking from my industry experience, this is a huge problem. So, people in high positions on big money and in many cases doing fuck all, whereas people in low positions on money is doing way too much.
I just need to stop you there, Bib, because I think this is bullshit. This is bullshit, Mr. T. I'm not having you peddling these atrocious lies because I mean, today I turned on some lights in this studio. So it's not just always Bibby that turns the lights on. I turned some on today on my own. So completely dismantle that argument without any comeback. No rebuttal. Thank you.
We share responsibilities, Graham. We share responsibilities, especially when it comes to giving people a show, which we do every single weekday at 10 a.m.-ish. I mean, in this case, it's 11:59. But you all get the vibes. Tito says, that I think that's standard across the board, Mr. T. My dad said the higher ups you do, the less you actually do. I mean, I disagree with that to a degree because there's a lot more pressure put on executives to potentially. I mean, it depends on what the higher up you think you go, because I imagine there is a threshold. If you are the CEO of something, or you are someone who has to speak to the shareholders, or someone who actually owns a company, I imagine the pressure in some businesses, and let's be honest, the video game industry is probably in one of those things. If you are in the video game industry, you're a CEO, you are the shareholder, you're speaking directly to the shareholder. The pressure it may be a 24-hour job. There is, not just in the video game world, but across the board in any job. If you are someone that looks after and is responsible for everybody, including your customers, shareholders, and the media and press, I imagine the burden, and this isn't me just like going, oh, poor them, they're on £400,000 a year, poor them. They might not have a work-life balance, and that's just me trying to find the balance in this conversation. Like, I'm not saying that the people who are at the very, very top just walk into the office and put their feet up on the desk and are just playing on the PlayStation all day, or on Facebook Marketplace buying and whatever, swinging a golf club in their office. I don't think that's the case at all. I do believe that they do have a lot of pressure on them. They may go home, they may go in at 6 o'clock in the morning, may go home at 9 o'clock at night, get to see the kids for a little while before they go to bed, and then the whole cycle's all over again. It's not a poor them thing. I imagine the responsibility is massive, and that is a pressure that I probably would never end up in, and probably something I don't want to be in, if I'm being honest. I think that's far too much pressure for me to be able to cope with. Again, the £400,000 would be nice, but if you've got no time to be able to spend it, what's the point in having it?
That's the thing. I think most of those people in those positions probably wouldn't have ever wanted to be in those positions. But when your role just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and the reason your role gets bigger and bigger and bigger is because you start off as one of these lower paid people that are just being expected to do everything because the people above you aren't working it. You suddenly start to take on all these work, and then so suddenly people start saying, okay, we'll give you more money to take away some of that work, and eventually, like, most of those people probably wouldn't want to be in those positions. So you probably will be in one day, but that's the thing, is like, there are people that are paid astronomical amounts of money because they do astronomically valuable work. Yeah. However, and this is where the problem all comes from, is not all of those people do the work. Mm-hmm. And the people that do work don't necessarily do it for the right reasons. Companies sitting there and going, well, we're going to pay all of us lot a shitload more to fix the problems, but we don't really do that much. I mean, there are a lot of 24-hour CEOs and stuff like that work their asses off, and that's where you see companies that aren't having problems, because their CEOs are engaged, their CEOs are communicating and looking after their staff. And just as Mr. T said, how was it gone? People on higher positions, in high positions, big money, and doing fuck all. There are tons of those people. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Mr. T is not speaking universally. There are tons of people that do that and earn their time, and that's when you see companies that are successful and doing the right things. Companies, if you've got CEOs that are working their asses off, but their staff are being left to wither away at the bottom, or in frat boy culture environments that are not being unchecked, then your CEOs are doing fuck all. Yeah. It's as simple as that. So
you've got to look at the left and right of you when you're in positions like that as to who. I mean, the higher you go up, I mean, it is a hell of a lot easier to be able to delegate tasks to people, regardless of what the task is. If you don't want to do it, you may just want to fuck that off and get somebody else in to do it for you. But delegating and having people that you can trust on either side of you, that then will have staff underneath them that they can trust, and then potentially, if your business starts to escalate, then those people that were underneath the managers then become senior managers. It filters down. Then you get. It's just all about the trust that's around there. And if you have a company that doesn't have that, and you have someone who's on a shitload of money that is just swinging a golf club round in their office, I'm not saying that's something that I would do if I ever owned my own company and I was on £1 million a week, but.
I mean, to be fair, you do that digitally right now.
I do that. Yeah, I mean, I've got golf clubs in this room. I've got golf clubs downstairs. I can swing whatever the fuck I want in this office.
We saw you playing. What was the golf game that you were playing last year? What was it called?
PGA Tour 2K. Was it Graham?
No, I wasn't going to delete it.
Fee golf.
Yeah. So yeah, just get that hooked up to your PGA. Job's good.
Yeah, exactly. I wish that was the case. I wish I would be able to do that. But yeah, like it's having a business that's something like Ubisoft is all about the trust and the staff that are in there. If you can't trust your staff, it doesn't matter if they are an executive or they are a manager, then it's just going to be danger all around the place. That's why they're in the news now. Do you know what I mean? And they have been for the last 18 months. It's difficult to be able to try and get out of a situation like that because as much as it would be easy just to get rid of all the staff, there needs to be a reason why, especially if they are as manipulating as some of them tend to have been, who have now been ejected or walked. But at this point, when you've got someone who's advising to pay 20% to senior members of staff and then only 5% to the jobbers, shall we say in WWE terms, someone who comes in and puts in a shift that puts over the staff, and then the manager will end up taking all the credit. Like those kind of people, yeah, they absolutely can get in the bin, and it just doesn't serve as a nice working environment for anyone to potentially want to come in and take over from an executive that's walked away because of the culture that they're in. But anyway, I think we'll move on to the next news article now because we've been live for 103 minutes. Obviously, that takes into consideration all the build-up and that.
Jumping in, because there was some really good comments there. Some of them, if you want to see this kind of stuff, if you want to read the comments, then you need to join us live on twitch.tv/uploads. But I'll go past the actual educational, deep comments from Tito and Mr. T, because they're actually really good comments. But let's go to the one that's really important. When Nietzsche says, it's tough at the top, I ain't getting out of bed for less than £750,000. Wait, sorry, £7.50.
Decimals are important. Decimals are important, people. Just like the amount of people who are playing Forza at this moment in time.
How many is that, baby?
That, Graham, is 8,000.
8,000? Decimals are important, baby.
They are absolutely important, Graham, because it does appear that I was absolutely wrong about that statement, and there is just over 800,000 people who are playing Forza Horizon 5. And it's not even out yet. Written by Vikki Blake over at Eurogamer. She states that nearly 1 million people are already playing Forza Horizon 5 and it hasn't even been officially released yet. As spotted by VGC, the game's old Hall of Game leaderboard now shows over 800,000 players are already playing this game either on PC or Xbox, most of whom have already purchased the costly £85 or $99 premium edition in order to secure the early access. For those who don't or couldn't splash out the premium edition, Forza Horizon's 5 Streets Day is the 9th of November, which is tomorrow, Tuesday. Oh yeah, it says it there, and I thought I was just doing a little riff there. Do you know what I mean? Just try and bring the people in. It turns out it was already in the article. Cheers, mate. According to our friends over at Digital Foundry, Forza 5 is an Xbox Series X masterpiece. For nearly as long as video games have existed, the racing game has stood as a monument to the state-of-the-art technology, an opportunity to dazzle audiences with vividly realised automobiles gliding across virtual highways. John wrote just a couple of days back. As this technology evolved, so did the representation of driving. More advanced physics enabled more realistic simulations, while more powerful graphics architecture enabled increasingly vivid recreations of the world around you. As new consoles launched, new racing games would inevitably appear to demonstrate why you need that new machine. From Project Gotham Racing to Forza Motorsport to Forza Horizon, Microsoft had understood this, and with Forza Horizon 5, Playground Games has delivered an exceptional system showcase, of which we actually demonstrated on Friday as we went through the review scores of this, and none of them was below 8, which is outstanding.
Felt it. I know you've not asked me a leading question. I'm just going to jump in and say I've said before that I am not a big racing guy. I am kind of open to the idea of playing Forza, but this I had like a mini epiphany as you read that out then. For nearly as long as video games have existed, the racing game has stood monument to the state-of-the-art technology, an opportunity to dazzle audience with vividly realised automobiles. Okay, I didn't even twig. Like, that kind of got lost on me because obviously the growth and the development, the way that a video game looks on screen has slowed down over the years. Like the jump from 16-bit to a 32-bit console was huge, but the jump from like the PS4 to the PS5 kind of not so much.
Yeah.
But because I've kind of not dabbled with video games for so long, I actually think I might play some Forza Horizon 5 because this game looks incredible.
Yeah.
And then 5 seconds later, I'll be sat in a full GTA Mega Racing cockpit setup. I don't know what happened.
Same. I mean, it's something that Jordan mentioned. Me and Jordan spoke through on Sunday while I was playing Vanguard. Like, it feels like I've kind of come full circle with video games again. It feels like forever since I was playing a first-person shooter, i.e. Call of Duty, playing a Call of Duty game. Like, it's been a long time since I've played one in a multiplayer map to the extent that I would do normally with a Battlefield game. I'm talking like the amount of time that I was playing over the weekend. If you could roll back maybe 6 years where I'm playing that game all of the time, maybe 7 years at a push. And then last year, Forza Horizon 4 came out, and I was like, I'm in. Like, this game is exceptional. Like, it's been a long time since I've played a racing game, and me and you have talked many a time on this channel about the glory days of like Need for Speed Underground 2, Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec on the PS2. Like, that's the area that I was in racing games, and then last year that all changed. It feels like this year is kind of changed with the new Call of Duty because it is a fantastic game so far of what I've played, which is maybe 5 or 6 hours. It's not a lot of time, and I imagine it will get repetitive quite quickly. People may already be bored of it, even though it only came out last week, because they've been playing it all weekend. I don't know. It's all down to personal preference. But at this moment in time, Forza Horizon 5, I am installing this on my PC tomorrow. I cannot wait to be able to jump in and have a look at this. It looks outrageously beautiful. Like, Jordan actually mentioned to me, and I didn't know this, and he may have been Billy bullshitting. If he is in the chat, this may be the time to dig him out. But he mentioned about Ride 3, because I said that's probably the best looking racing game that I've seen on the market, and he said that it was only the replays that look as good as it is. As you're playing in real time, it doesn't look as good, but then when you hit the replay button, it brings in all the lighting, all of the V-Sync-ish stuff and whatever else, all this technical jargon that I don't really understand. But he said it looks better in replays than it does as you're playing through real time, which kind of makes sense. Does also feel a bit like a cop-out as well, because obviously you aren't playing the beautiful game, you are watching it back. As content creator, I don't know how that would necessarily work. But yeah, like Forza itself, this is a game that I will be 110% investing my time into. And it's weird that, who knows, there may be a time when I jump back into playing Command & Conquer again because something's jumped out that I really want to play. Maybe Age of Empires or something like that I haven't played for 10 years or more. I don't know. This brings me on to a next question. Is video games getting that stale in terms of genres that we are reverting back to our old home comforts, shall we say?
Do you know, kind of, but that's kind of par for the course in that sort of sense, because that's what video games is. I'm going to cough there 1 second. In the room, nice.
The mute working absolutely beautifully there, by the way.
Nice. But that's kind of what it is. It's like, okay, we have the ability to kick footballs around. So what do we do when we make consoles? Create the digital ability to kick footballs around. We have the ability to drive cars. What do? Let's make digital abilities to kick. So we've always kind of been like that. Anyway, videos have always been a copy of themselves. So now copying a copy is kind of just the next sort of step. So there will always be new experiences within video games, but even the older experiences are based off of older experiences. So, like, obviously you get a single player game, and then you get a multiplayer game, and then you get a battle royale version of the game, and then you'll probably get something that evolves off that and iterates of that. So we are coming back to tried and tested experiences, but these are experiences that we can all see, live, feel, touch, tangible experiences. We can just get to do them without the ability. I mean, one thing I don't have is a Subaru Impreza WRX STI version, but I could probably fly around the track in one of them from on Forza 5. So yeah.
I mean, that's the stuff that that if 14 or 13-year-old Bibby was playing Need for Speed Underground 2 at the time, known how good the graphics were going to be 15 years, 16 years, 17 years later, then he would have shit his knickers in the front room as he was playing that game. Like, these games now. No,
14-year-old Bibby was sat there looking at SmackDown Here Comes the Pain going, you literally can't get any better than this.
Yeah.
How do we get, and then the next one comes along, it's like, how have they done that? And then the next generation, and then the next generation.
Well, that's the thing with racing games. Progressively, they always look better than the last. And you know what? There isn't actually that many games out there that you could probably say the same for. Like, a lot of them will probably look the same for, I don't know, maybe 4 years and then move on to a new engine or something like that. But it tends to be racing games always look better. I don't know if it's because they don't have as much to work with. Like, they have the cars, they have the track, and then they have the environment around it. The environment can obviously change depending on what time of the day it is and if you're playing in this particular country. And then the track might be, I don't know, I don't think it's like tennis where you get like clay tracks or anything like that. But I imagine the tracks in Monaco are completely different to the ones over here because of the heat that's on there. Like, there's a load of variables around there, but somehow, I don't know how they do it, but they make it look better every single time. Take F1, for instance. That game every year looks more exceptional than the last. NBA is another one. I know that's a completely different sport, but they tend to look better every single year. Golf, another example. Like, I know there isn't that many examples out there, and I'm just throwing them off the top of my head, but when it comes to racing games, it's the environments always tend to look better each edition that they brought out, and that's across the board of all of the racing games. So yeah, I think they've evolved faster than maybe other sports titles or any other game. But
I think it's because you're effectively in a box, or you're looking at the outside of a box, depending on where you have your perspective. You're either in the cab or outside the cab of your vehicle. And you just see that one space at any point in time. And obviously, the game makes you feel like you're driving around the track, whereas in reality, your car is in the screen, and then the track's just moving around under your game. So it's that render draw distance. Doesn't need to be as big as something like a PUBG, where you can jump up into a helicopter and see the entire map and things like that. You could just see to the next corner, and anything beyond that, they've probably calculations for where things need to be drawn, which means that they can go, okay, well, let's just hyper animate that one leaf that's got a drip of water coming off it, because I mean, I've been out of racing games for a long while. I'm probably still never going to go back into them fully, but I'm now at the point where the technological advancements do have me interested. And like Time for a Bong says, F1 poo, Forza, actually fun. Well, I hope so.
Did you ever play Drive Club?
Let me Google Drive Club now.
It was like it was a PlayStation 4 game, and at the time it blew my mind because I've been out of the video game racing world for such a long time, and then you could be inside your car, and like the inside of it was like, I don't know, I was driving an Audi, and it looked super realistic. Like, Drive Club was a brilliant game. I think potentially a little bit ahead of its time, because there wasn't a GTA, there wasn't a Gran Turismo out around that time. For me, it looked phenomenal, and I really liked that game. But again, because I've not been around video games did you hear that?
I've not been around video games.
I was trying to disguise that. Because I've not been around racing games for so long, it was kind of like, Jesus, this is fucking great. And now, I don't know, 8 years after the fact, we're getting Forza Horizon 4 and 5 that look even better than they did. Like, I suppose if you're out of a game genre for so long and you go back to it, you kind of like, this is great. I mean, Time for a Bong mentioned there about playing GTA 4 again on his PlayStation, and it looks shite now. Like, that wasn't that long ago. That was 7-8 years. No, it's got to be way more longer than that, actually. It's got to be maybe 2009 that came out. So, yeah, it's 12 years ago. I
think it was actually 2008. I could be wrong. I thought it was 2008. I might be mixing it up with something else, but you might be right, actually, there. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
But yeah, it's the way the games evolve nowadays are so, it's a new console, a new generation, a new graphics card. Everything could look completely different from what you remember. Like, in my head, I'm still thinking about, like you said, SmackDown, Here Comes the Pain, and then I see what 2K are doing with WWE, and I think, Jesus Christ, like, that's a million miles away than what you would have ever assumed it to look like. I'm always gameplay over graphics anyway. Graphics are just an extra bonus for me, but if they look that good, then that's probably a way to entice me in, even though, again, I'm gameplay over graphics. Speaking of games that have been out for 10 years and are getting anniversary editions, a nice little segue into the last news story of the day. Nice. It's probably one that you're expecting. we was waiting for extra details. We brought this story 2 weeks ago. We was waiting for the extra details as it is out this week. And we now know that there's going to obviously be an anniversary edition of the game. There is going to be an upgrade path, and it will be paid. Written on GameSpot by Eddie Makuch. He states that Skyrim Anniversary Edition and upgrade prices have now been revealed, and here's how much the Anniversary Edition and individual upgrades when the game launches next week, which is obviously this week now. Bethesda's popular, very underwhelming.
Spib.
Yeah. RPG The Elder Scrolls Skyrim celebrates its 10th anniversary this year, and the publisher is yet again re-releasing the game through an anniversary edition on November the 11th. The company has now at long last revealed how much the game will cost. In an FAQ, Bethesda revealed that the MSRP will be $50. This works out at €54, £48 and $80 Australian dollars, and 3,399 rupees, is that?
Rubles,
sorry. People who already own Skyrim Special Edition, which maybe does, can upgrade their digital copy for $20, €20, £16, 30 Australian dollars, and 1,429 rubles. The Skyrim Anniversary Edition includes a special edition and all previously released Creation Club content. This adds new quests, modes, armor, and a fishing system. Bethesda is also releasing a physical version of the Anniversary Edition on PS4 and Xbox One, but pricing was not announced. Additionally, the bundle comes with a disc, but an internet connection is necessary to install the Creation Club content. The FAQ has also has some information on the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series S upgrades, which will be free. Players can expect enhanced graphics, faster loading times, and more. Finally, all trophies and achievements from the Skyrim Special Edition will be applied to the Anniversary Edition, with one exception. Anyone who upgrades from PS4 to PlayStation 5 will have to start over on their trophies, which is why I've not installed mine yet. The rest of this on here you don't really need. It's just about all the stuff like GTA that's going to be coming out, Star Wars. All the rest of it, you don't need to know that stuff. This is purely on Skyrim Anniversary Edition. So this is where I was asking you, and like you would have known anyway, about information on this, because I was under the impression that if you had a Skyrim Special Edition on PlayStation 4, you was going to get the upgrade for free, which you do. It's the PlayStation 5 version of the game which you get for free. I didn't really know that there would be a separate thing that you would have to buy that has all of the new stuff on. I'm going to buy it, obviously. I'm going to pay so altogether it's going to cost me £35, which is still cheaper than the $50 that they would have offered in the first place. So I'm saving myself £50. That's fantastic. Do you think that was a good idea? And do you think that's going to be worth the money for the people out there? I know that you don't have that much information on Skyrim. You've never played it before. You've only heard me rabbit on about it. But if someone was to tell you that a game that you loved was going to have that you get a free upgrade path, but you're going to have to buy all the extra content on top of that, do you think that would have been a good idea?
It's kind of hard to answer that without knowing context. So say if PUBG adds a PS5 version, I can either buy the PS5 version, which comes with some skins, some cosmetics, some different cool moody side story stuff or whatever, or I can just upgrade my PS4 version to the PS5 version, but I don't get the skins and all the side stuff. Is that kind of an equivalent to it?
I'd say it's more you was going to get the PlayStation 5 version of PUBG, but you wasn't going to get Chapter 2. You'd have to buy Chapter 2 separately. I think that's the biggest equivalent you could probably run for this.
See, I feel like I don't know. No, I don't like the fact. I like the fact that you get £50 game, and as Tito says, everything is included. I like that. Okay, £50, boom. But I don't like the fact that if you get the free version, you get some of it, but not all of it. It's almost it's the taste that hooks you in. It's the little bit before you get the addiction kind of thing. I feel like do it all or not kind of thing, or make it so that your core elements are free. So having Fortnite Chapter 1 and Fortnite Chapter 2, or PUBG Chapter 1 and 2, and then or Skyrim Chapter 1 and 2, and then giving them Chapter 1, but then it stops at Chapter 2 and you have to get involved then. It's like I'm still paying the, let's call it an upgrade tax. Tax is probably a harsh word because it adds meaning to it that doesn't necessarily need to be there. But you still have to pay your upgrade tax at some point in time. So you might as well just get the £50 game now rather than doing it down the line and get everything all included and benefit for all along. So for me, it doesn't quite sit right, but that's me looking at it, trying to put context in elsewhere. What do you think? What are your thoughts, Bib?
I think I'd need to know. I mean, let's be honest, I'm going to buy the upgrade path to this anyway, regardless, because I do believe that what they are going to be giving us
Tends to be gasped.
is probably going to be worth the money that you'll end up paying for it. It's like having the new quest, the modes, the armor, and the fishing system. The new mode that they're introducing, or one of them at least, is going to be a survival mode. So you do have all of the elements around you. So you will have to, I don't know, if it's really, really cold, you have to set up next to a camp and put a fire out to make sure that you don't freeze to death and stuff like that. That's pretty cool. The graphical enhancements is where I sit on this one, because that's what I wanted. I wanted to play this game in the most beautiful way that I could without having a £1,500 PC. Like, I want to be able to play this on Super Ultimate with all the bells and whistles, which I'm getting for free. That is absolutely fantastic. I cannot wait to be able to do that. Faster loading times, because the loading times in Skyrim are atrocious. They take so long. It genuinely is a last-gen version that you're playing, especially on Switch. It takes forever, but that you come to expect that from the power that you can get from a Switch. But being able to play this with all the bells and whistles is what I'm getting that for free. Like, I paid £15 for that. On top of that, with the new quests, I need to know what they are. I need to know what, if it wasn't for the survival mode, like, that's the thing that I want to be able to pay you need to entice me to buy this this upgraded path version for £20. I need to know how long the new quests are, like how long that's going to take, what the new modes are. Obviously, we know one of them. I don't know if there's going to be any more. The fishing system, you can take that or leave it if you really want to be able to put this fish in a fish tank in your room or eat it for food or whatever. And the new armor that comes with it, that sounds like something that you'd get as an expansion pack for an MMO, like an ESO. Like, you buy the level cap, you pay for the new raids and stuff like that. But what are the new quests? What is the new armor pieces? Is that worth the extra money? I'm going to pay for it regardless. I mean, that's probably me being part of the problem, but it's a game that I love and probably is one of my favorite games of all time. So it's a no-brainer for me.
I think it's kind of it's kind of the, like you saying, like, what is it? That's kind of the whole thing, though. If it's valuable, then the value is irrelevant in that sort of sense. Like, how much does it cost? Is it kind of worth it? It's like, what is the content? If the content is worth the price, then it's kind of worth it in itself. So the split isn't necessarily the issue. It's just whether the content within the split is worth the split.
Yeah. Is it like an extra 20 hours on top of a game that you can play for 400 hours in one playthrough if you really want to be able to go through and do all the side quests, all the main quests, get all the best armor pieces? Like, if you want to be able to do that, there is a serious amount of hours that can go into this one. This game will probably last me the entirety of this console generation, and I say that with my chest. This game will last me forever, as the previous
until the next one in 3 years' time.
Exactly, until it's a 15th anniversary edition. But yeah, like, I do think it's probably going to be worth your money. It's just a shame that you didn't get more. We haven't got more information on that then, because they literally want your money, and that's saying it politely. They sold the special edition on PSN for £45. Obviously, I managed to get my copy for £15 off of eBay. I managed to undercut that, and then I'm going to be able to pay £20 on top of that to be able to have all the added extras. But £35 for a PS5 game and one that's as large as Skyrim genuinely is a no-brainer. And it probably is going to be one of my games of the year again. I do need to get into things like Guardians as well. My backlog of games is ridiculous. Like, I genuinely don't have enough time. That is only ever going to get even worse, obviously, when Baby Boy Bibby arrives as well. And I genuinely will have no time for video games at that point.
Yeah, do you remember when you used to play games?
Remember when he had a PS5? Like, this room is probably going to be closed for like 2 months. But yeah, I do think it's probably going to be worth your time and money. I'm not necessarily talking to you, Graham, but genuinely, if anyone has played Skyrim before or wants to get into an RPG that has the best of everything, that is the worlds, the environment, the storylines, the weapons, the combat, everything else that's around it, this is 110 worth your time. Buy the special edition PlayStation 4 or Xbox version for £15 off eBay, and just get the PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series S upgrade for free. And then if you like it, then purchase the
Nietzsche said in the chat, it's like the local drug dealer going, here, have a try of this heroin, it's free. Bibby's just full on give you the drug dealer pitch as well. Then just get that one and get the free upgrade.
Mate, I'm walking out with both arms out in front of him saying, go and hook me up. Have an IV in both arms. But genuinely, make sure that you buy the special edition first on the last gen console. Get your free upgrade. If you like it, then purchase on top of it. There is no need to go in day one and get all the bells and whistles. especially if it's a game that you've maybe tried before you didn't necessarily like, this is a world away from the game that came out 10 years ago. But that's my sale pitch done. Use code ICU at checkout and you'll be able to get... that's a joke. That's a joke. Just running back through the chat then before we wrap up the show. Try Forza, Fatman Dave. It's free tomorrow on Game Pass, buddy. Your brother's there as well. Says one thing: the GTA 4 beats GTA 5 visually is with the water. It looks better on GTA 4 than GTA 5 to me. I suppose that depends on what console you're playing on. I can't see that being true if you're playing on PS4 on both of those.
I can't remember the water physics. I do remember some games having great water physics, though. Maybe GTA was one of them. But we'll take your word for it.
Time for a Bonk says, I'm not buying any more games no more. Just want to play whatever comes to Game Pass. He also complimented on my Corrupt FM shirt, which I do appreciate. Real recognizes real. Time for he also says, I thought Cyberpunk never played it. Same as Far Cry, New Dawn, and loads more. At least free don't matter if you don't play it. Absolutely.
You know what? Talking about free and the opposite. I mean, one that I actually meant to comment on it and completely went out of my mind. Nietzsche once again says, I played F1 once. The following day, I owned the wheel, the pedals, the stand, everything. I used it once and then never used it again. Then he said, bit like streaming, did that once, bought all the game and do it again.
Or maybe you need to start booting that stream back up again, mate.
Exactly.
Today's a new day. Get back on it, and then I'm fairly certain we'll all be there for you. But ladies and gentlemen, that is it for today's show. It's been a good one, considering I've obviously been the host. It feels weird to be able to do all this bit having a co-host. I don't think I've ever co-hosted a scoop with someone before. I've done interviews and stuff when me and Asim have been talking about Resident Evil and stuff, but I don't think I've ever co-hosted one, so this is a new one for me. That's definitely been added to my CV. So, in true Ice Cream fashion, as the co-host, Graham, we'll be going live again tomorrow, but where can everyone see us? How can they find us? And how can they shape our shows?
Well, they can get involved with us by joining us live on Twitch. And if they want to help shape our show, then all you guys need to do is bring the news to us. All we need from you guys, if you want to help shape our show, is bring us the stories. We need a link plus your thoughts and impressions. Drop them in our Discords, on our social media, all of the links of which are in the chat right now. And then we will give you our thoughts and impressions on the very next show, which will be at what time, Mr. Bibb?
Probably around 10 a.m. Ish. Massive-ish. So, yes.
Nailed it. Nice.
I absolutely nailed it. I mean, there is duplicate stuff in the chat because my chat bot always open, and so is Graham's as well. So that's why you can see everyone going there. But we are going to raid one of our friends. I'm just trying to find out who that may be. But obviously, we do have our own currency on this channel as well, which is also known as sprinkles. If you stick around, you'll be able to earn extra sprinkles, and you will also make a friend of the show's day by going over. If you want to spam in, just say hello from ICU. That's all we need you to go over there. Just say hello from ICU. If you want to ask him how their days are as well, that would also be absolutely fantastic. But ladies and gentlemen, as today comes to a close over on the scoop, Graham, there is a phrase that we love to end the show with. It has two words on there. Would you like to tell everyone what they are?
Okay. Oh no, that's a different one. Sorry. What he meant to say was, stay frosty.
Yeah.